welcome to Cooking on Caffeine. My name is Megan Leal, and today we are going to be making the best ooey, gooey, stretchy, cheesy, wonderful vegan cheese sauce using only 2 ingredients. Now, you might be wondering, why are we only using 2 ingredients to make our cheese sauce? And the answer is I'm an allergy mom and I develop recipes for other allergy families that just happen to be vegan. And one of the things, if you are an allergy parent or you care for somebody who has allergies, or even if you have allergies yourself, is the fewer ingredients in something, the better. It can be really overwhelming if you're scanning nutritional labels to see if it has a bunch of different allergens in it, and sometimes they can be sneaky, like natural and artificial flavors, or sometimes it'll just say starch or protein, and you're not really sure what's in it. So what I like to do is whittle things down to their most basic parts and build from there. And that's what I did with this cheese sauce. I said, what are the bare minimum things that I need in order to make an ooey gooey, stretchy, wonderful cheese sauce for my pizzas, for my pastas, for my fondue, for grilled cheese sandwiches, that is vegan, so it's dairy free, but also has as few ingredients as possible in it. And this is what I came up with. So what you're going to need in order to make this recipe are 2 ingredient cheese sauce. Actually, I am using milk. You can use whatever plant milk you want. I'm using oat milk today just because it's my favorite in coffee. But you can use oat milk, you can use pea milk, you can use almond milk, whatever milk you use in your house and you like to drink. Go for the not flavored one. You don't want a vanilla or a chocolate flavored cheese sauce unless that's your thing, then go for it. You're free to experiment. But for this one, we're just using plain. You can use unsweetened. I like to use one that has a little bit of sugar added, because if we were doing a dairy cheese sauce, dairy cheese does have a little bit of sugar in it. It's a little bit sweet. Dairy milk actually has about 13 grams of sugar per 8 ounces. So my oat milk here, we've got 11 grams of carbs in there, and it's 4 grams of sugar. So that's per 8 ounces per cup. So it's going to have around the same sweetness as dairy milk. Now, when you're making cheese with dairy milk, if you're going to be making a mozzarella or something, the whey that drains off from the curds is the cheese, the whey is a byproduct, and that has a lot of the sugar in it already. So if you're going to be making like a straight mozzarella, it's not going to be nearly as sweet as like a dairy sauce, like a cheese sauce like we're doing today. But this works perfectly fine in this recipe. Use whatever milk is safe for you, safe for your family, and that you like to drink on its own. That's my recommendation here. And yes, homemade does work perfectly fine. So if you make your own almond milk, if you make your own oat milk at home, it does work great in the sauce. This is just a base for us to add our tapioca starch. Tapioca starch is a wonderful. It is not very many people in the world are allergic to tapioca, so it's pretty darn safe in terms of allergies. And what this does is when you bring it up to boiling and the starches develop, it gets melty and stretchy and very cheese-like. Whatever medium it's in this case we're going to be using our plant milk, it turns it very cheese-like. So we're going to be using tapioca starch today. If you have issues with tapioca starch, if you can't find it, go ahead and sub it with arrowroot if you can find that. And if you can't tolerate either of those, potato starch will also work in this recipe, but tapioca starch works the best. So this is my recommendation here. So those are our 2 ingredients, guys, for the basic cheese sauce. Plant milk of your choice, tapioca starch. That is it. How crazy is that? So now, I'm not saying this is going to be like the most delicious thing you've ever had in your life, because we're not adding any flavor to this. This is just our base. But this can be transformed into, if you want to make it into like a mozzarella flavored cheese sauce for your pizza. If you want to make mac and cheese with it, you can add some different flavors to that. If you want to do like a fondue, go ahead and add whatever flavors you want to it to make that. And I'm gonna have more recipes coming for you guys, but I just wanted to get the base out so that you can start experimenting with your own 2-ingredient cheese sauce. So let's get going with it. The materials, or I guess the equipment that you're gonna need a stovetop burner, and you're gonna need a small saucepan, and I recommend using a silicone rubber spatula so you can really get in there and scrape and it doesn't burn on you. And a tablespoon measurer for your tapioca. And I'm going to be using my cutie patootie little measuring cup here. And I'm just going to be making 1 cup of cheese sauce today. Bare minimum here, just so you guys can see what's going on. And I'm going to get everything set up here. My measurements for my cheese sauce, super simple, so you can't forget it. 1 heaping tablespoon of tapioca starch to 1 cup of plant milk. So try not to make a mess. Tapioca starch can get really messy, you guys. So I'm gonna do 1 heaping tablespoon of tapioca starch. You probably can't see, but I am already covered in tapioca starch. And now what I'm going to do in here, I don't need this guy anymore, so I'm going to put him back here. I'm going to add just a little bit of oat milk. Just a little bit, like that. And I'm going to stir it up and break up all of those clumps and get that tapioca starch really well dissolved in there. When I'm adding flavors to this, I put it all through a fine mesh sieve to really break up the chunks and make sure that there are none in the cheese. And oh my gosh, you guys, it's so wonderful if you add like some fresh herbs in there, like some rosemary, basil, especially if you're going to be eating it with tomatoes. You could do like a caprese type thing. Just do some fine little chiffonade ribbons of fresh basil in your cheese before you start cooking it. You could even fold it in at the end. Like, guys, the sky's the limit with this. Just do whatever you want to do with this cheese sauce. I'm giving you the base. So this is our foundation for whatever recipes you want to build on it. And like I said, I've got my recipes coming out soon, but I just wanted to get this out to you guys. So as I add the recipes, I'll add them in the description of this video, and of course on my blog, cookingoncaffeine.com. Now I'm just using my spatula to scrape up the sides to make sure I don't have any more lumps in there. And that's looking pretty good. So since I've got that all dissolved, now I am going to add more oat milk up to 1 cup. Now the thing with using oat milk instead of like a rice milk or an almond milk is it's not pure white. If you did want a pure white milk, you are more than welcome to add like some titanium dioxide to this if you're trying to fool some people or whatever, make it look really legit like dairy. But the as you can see here, the oat milk has got a little bit of a beige color to it, but it tastes great and it's very creamy, so it's my favorite. Okay, so now we're gonna get this on the stove. We're gonna heat it up over medium heat. Don't want to pull the cord too far. There you go. Okay, so we're gonna turn this up to medium heat. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 max. So I'm gonna go with a 3.5 on here. I might need to turn that up a little bit. And then I'm just gonna pour it right into the pan. And as it heats up, it's going to thicken. It's going to start getting very stretchy, melty, and gooey. And the thing about tapioca starch is it'll make it that very cheese-like texture. It's very melty and gooey and stretchy, and it firms up when it cools, just like dairy cheese does. Well, pretty close to dairy cheese. I'm not going to say it's just like it, but it's pretty close. But the really cool thing is that it melts when you heat it up again. And when you bake it, it gets like crispy on the edges, and it's a really great substitute for those of us who can't have dairy. So, and it's already very creamy thanks to the oat milk. It's gonna heat this up, and I'm gonna get my little bowl ready. To pour it into when it's done. And just keep stirring, just keep stirring. And if you're curious on different flavoring options for your cheese sauce, I really recommend going to my friend Kat's website, 86eats.com. That's 86eats.com. She's like the queen of vegan cheese. So go ahead and visit her website and just check out the different things that she uses to flavor, like her vegan gorgonzola, her vegan cheddar. She's got a bunch of different really awesome flavor combinations and vegan cheese flavors on her site. I really recommend going there and seeing what she does, and you can try and replicate it with this cheese sauce here. Boy, using this larger burner with the smaller pan, I'm getting all the heat to my face. That's okay. So this does take a few minutes to heat up. It's already getting warm there. I'm gonna take a drink of my coffee. Wouldn't be cooking on caffeine without the caffeine, would it? Okay, and I can feel with my spatula, the bottom of the pan is starting to get kind of slippery. There's a lot less friction now, and that's telling me that that tapioca starch is starting to develop. It's hot on my hand. And I can see that the texture is already starting to change. We're starting to get a little bit of a foamy head on the cheese. Which I might actually need to turn the heat down just a little bit. So turn it down to 2. Don't want this to like full on rage boil at me. I just want it to simmer to develop. There we go. The tapioca is starting to thicken. You see that, you guys? It happens really fast. Okay, so now I want to stir it quickly. Look at that, you guys. I told you it happens fast. It goes from liquid, complete liquid, to cheese sauce in just a few seconds flat once it reaches temperature. Look, oh my goodness, y'all. It's delicious. Make sure you scrape the sides. And if you want it to be thicker than this, there are a couple of things you can do. You can add a little bit more tapioca starch, and that'll give you more of a solid cheese. Or you could simmer your milk down before you make the cheese sauce, and it'll give you a thicker sauce towards the end. But that's it. See how it's already stretchy and very cheesy? This is the consistency of a nice thick Alfredo sauce. So like if you already make a vegan Alfredo with something like blended cauliflower, or you do like a roux with flour and milk, this would be a great substitute for that. And then you would just add in whatever flavors you want. It's starting to get very cheesy chunky on the sides there. And that's it. I'm going to turn off the stovetop. And so you can see, I'll try and pour it this way so you can see better. So what we've essentially done here is kind of like a bechamel, or a roux, but made with the tapioca instead of flour. And there you go. Very stretchy, very cheesy for all of your cheesy needs. Thank you so much for watching.